Let's just jump right in. Welcome to this explainer, which we've designed specifically as a critical safety briefing for office and manufacturing managers. Because honestly, if you're managing people, their physical well-being out there on the floor or in the office, that's fundamentally in your hands. So today, we're taking a really focused look at the science of ergonomics, fitting the job to the worker. We're going to see how you can actively step in and mitigate those daily risks that are just kind of hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so here's the game plan for this briefing. We're going to hit number 1, the safety mandate. Then 2, industry risks. Moving into 3, machine and workstation design. Number 4 covers proper lifting and postures. 5 tackles localized body strain. And we'll wrap up with number 6, evaluating cumulative trauma.
All right, Section 1, the safety mandate and your legal and ethical responsibility.
So as a manager, your mandate is just crystal clear under OSHA's General Duty Clause. Furnishing a workplace that is free from recognized hazards? That isn't some optional perk or nice to have. It's a strict requirement. See, when we talk about ergonomics, we aren't just talking about making things comfortable. We are talking about preventing serious physical harm. Identifying and eliminating poor physical designs and repetitive stressors is absolutely your legal and ethical responsibility.
And wow, this number brilliantly illustrates why we have to take this so seriously. Musculoskeletal disorders account for roughly 33% of all occupational injuries and illnesses. Think about that for a second. Basically, a third of your workplace injury risk is entirely tied up in how your workers physically interact with their environment. This is a massive operational and human risk that we've just got to manage proactively.
Moving to Section 2, industry-specific ergonomic risks. Knowing your battlefield.
Whether you're managing nurses in a care facility, doing heavy manual lifting of patients, food processors dealing with super rapid, repetitive motion, or office workers just suffering from static posture backaches, you really have to know your specific battlefield. I mean, an occasional hour at a computer isn't a huge deal, but a worker sitting there all day long, that's when eye strain and neck pain just absolutely skyrocket. Every sector has its own unique traps.
For example, imagine you're walking the floor of a meatpacking plant. You need to recognize the specific dangers right there in front of you. Rapid, repetitive knife work, combined with a static, standing posture and no adequate task rotation, that is a direct, one-way path to severe, disabling wrist dysfunctions like carpal tunnel syndrome. Spotting these industry-specific repetitions early is truly your first line of defense.
All right, Section 3, safe machine and workstation design. Engineering the solution.
To really tackle this, we have to fundamentally shift our mindset. We need to move from task-oriented design over to user-oriented design. See, a task-oriented setup basically forces the human to contort and adapt to the machine just to get the job done. And honestly, that's just a recipe for injury. User-oriented design means we flip the script. We fit the equipment, the procedures, the whole system directly to the physical capabilities and the limitations of the actual worker.
A really perfect example of user-oriented engineering, built right into the machinery itself, is the crane pendant dead man control. Just think about how elegant this is. If the operator lets go, the simple spring design inherently snaps the machine right back to a safe, neutral, no-action state. It doesn't force a panicked worker to remember some complex shutdown sequence in an emergency. The physical design of the tool itself protects the user and the environment automatically.
Let's look at Section 4, posture and proper lifting, and the biomechanics of safety.
Look at the stark contrast here between awkward and neutral postures. A dangerous 30-degree forward bend is absolutely going to guarantee lower back strain over time, no question. Compare that to a neutral, upright posture where the spine is straight, the head is up, and that load is kept perfectly safe and close to the body. As a manager, you should be constantly scanning your floor for that awkward 30-degree bend and, correcting it the moment you see it.
Overexertion injuries are some of the most devastating and costly for any business. To prevent them, you've got to train your teams using proper mechanics, like the exact steps of the NIOSH sack lifting technique. You start by leaning the load onto a kneeling leg, sliding it up, then transferring it while keeping it incredibly close to your center of gravity. Finally, you let the powerful muscles in your legs do all the pushing to stand up. That spine remains protected the entire time. It's a game changer.
Next up, Section 5, localized body strain, focusing on office and floor interventions.
So, for those of you managing administrative spaces, understanding the specific geometry of a safe workstation is just absolutely critical. To eliminate chronic neck and shoulder strain, you really want 90-degree angles at the knees and elbows. You want feet flat on the floor or resting on a footrest and forearms completely parallel to the ground. And check out the monitor distance too. Keeping that focal distance uniform is exactly what reduces eye strain. Because if your office workers aren't sitting like this, they are quietly accumulating microtraumas every single hour of the day.
But hey, the good news is you can implement practical interventions today. Give them tools with padded grips and longer handles to cut down on awkward bending. Pad up those sharp table edges, hand out wrist rests and anti-fatigue mats, and, actually this might be the most important part, use administrative controls. Enforce alternating between sitting and standing, and make sure those highly repetitive tasks are spread out over the whole shift, not just done all at once.
Because look, if you walk by and see an employee pressing their delicate wrist tissues against a hard desk edge, you are actively witnessing an ergonomic hazard happening in real time. That localized pressure literally blocks circulation and damages nerves. It requires an immediate, super simple fix, like just sliding a wrist rest in there or swapping for a desk with rounded edges.
Section 6. Evaluating cumulative trauma. Let's look at a team scenario.
Okay, let's put all this knowledge to the test. Imagine this. One of your team members comes into your office complaining about severe, persistent joint pain. But when you pull up the incident logs, nothing. No slip, no trip, no fall. Not a single sudden accident. So as a manager, how do you identify the root cause of an invisible problem like that?
Well, the answer almost always lies in cumulative trauma disorders, or CTDs. These are incredibly insidious conditions caused by chronic, long-term exposure to repetition force in awkward postures. They just sneak up over time. It means the worker wasn't hurt by picking up one heavy box, but by lifting thousands of slightly awkward boxes over months and months, which means your daily active observation of how they are working is truly your only real defense.
And over time, the science and OSHA standards have really evolved to catch up with this reality. We moved from just looking at risks for repetitive strain injuries like carpal tunnel to understanding the broader scope of cumulative trauma, and finally to our modern understanding of work-related musculoskeletal disorders. Today, we know for a fact that any part of the body, necks, shoulders, lower backs, knees, can succumb to these complex disorders if we don't carefully engineer the environment.
Which brings us to our wrap-up and final thoughts for this explainer. So the absolute main takeaway here is that forcing any employee to endure poor physical design is, ultimately, a failure of management. Whether it's an office chair or a huge, heavy manufacturing line, we always have to fit the job to the worker, not the other way around.
I'm going to leave you with this challenge. Go walk your floors immediately after this briefing. Look really closely at the postures of your team and ask yourself, are our workstations just built to get the task done, or are they truly engineered to protect the human beings doing the work? Thank you so much for your focus today. Now let's get out there and make our workplaces safer, because the next major injury on your floor might just be one you literally cannot see coming.